just going to start with an introduction. Today is another day in the introduction to miracles, and I'm very happy that you joined. So it's like fasten your seatbelt. So it's just like a seatbelt. So you can make as much noise as you want during the session, but it will not be recorded. Most people find it very scary if you make noises. And so we filter that out right now. It will come in a live class that you can behave as you want. So when we meet in person, who knows, whenever that will be. But I'm really happy that you're here and that you decided to continue with the introduction to miracles. And today is the third class, I think, maybe the fourth already. And the subject is the relationship of miracles and revelation. And just a minute ago, I posted a little post on the website called the Stepping Stones, Miracle as a Stepping Stone. And this is totally a part of what we're actually going to share today. And so I'm using that article that just came to me, that I just wrote down and posted, and as a guide for today, because actually it's very interesting to see that even though this is a new section in the chapter, it is still continuing the miracle principles. So you will see them being repeated, or like they're still being generated, so to speak, in the text, more miracle principles, and the ones that you also really want to hear about. So that's the interesting part. If you start to read this section, I think is one of the most interesting sections. Like it just keeps on growing with like, yes, I would like to know everything about this. In terms of, I want to come to a very clear understanding when it comes to what actually is a miracle and what is revelation. So that's that is a real possibility. And so in the piece that came to me, it is very clear how they are related to one another, what the relationship is. And so having experiences with all of it, so to speak, I can speak from my own experience in this. And that might be very helpful too, because yeah, if you don't hear the person say and just read it, you still read it with your own ears. And so this can be totally helpful. At least I wish I heard this before for myself too. And I was like, oh yeah, that's so great. That's so clear. And it's, yeah, it is based on everything that has become my experience. So that is so amazing. Like this is not just words in a book. It's not just a possibility or this or that. No, it is a real part of you that you start to recognize as your own. And suddenly when you recognize it as your own, you want to give it away, you want to share it, you want to apply it and use it because it's so incredibly useful. So the thing that I shared in this little piece too, it is like this, like, okay, you came to the place where you do your exercises, you have your say your practice as a spiritual student, so to speak, and you read many books or not. It really does not matter in that sense. And it is like the amazing part is that you had actually devastating experiences in which you really start to question, so what on earth is going on here? What the hell is going on? What is happening in my life? Is this all, is this all that there is to life? So these devastating experiences are actually helpful in the sense that they bring you to a place where you start to question what is occurring, instead of just living it through and not questioning anything, but thinking that it's all part of it. So when you come to your recognition that you actually see, okay, there should be more, like there should be more to life than this. This cannot be it. Then it becomes really like a speed up for your transformation. And the speed up for your transformation is yeah, that is part of the plan that is working you. And that is always a bit scary, maybe in the first moment that you hear it. It's like a plan that is working me, really. um, yeah, there's a plan, because basically the confusion that you can have about yourself is that you think that you live in a time, on a timeline, and thinking that the end of your life will be your termination, your death. See, and that is not what your life is. Your life has nothing to do with this death, as we know it. And as we used to talk about it, and as we cry about it, and as we see that as part of our lives, connected to a false identification with us as being a body. So in this whole spiritual, see, the word spiritual is based on spirit. So that is also, it's not like physicality. It has nothing to do with your body in that sense, even though it is an important part in the whole undoing. So you can say, like, the obstacle that you can describe as your body identification is also going to be used in your waking up out of this dream that you composed for yourself, where you start to see yourself as a figure in the dream, moving from A to B. And so it's located, it needs to feed, it needs to do all kinds of stuff in order to exist. And so it finds a living and tries to survive. All these things that you describe to the body and as the function of the body, bringing you from A to B, lifting things, lifting yourself, and on and on and on. All these descriptions that are related to you as you thinking that you're a body is also a huge part of the undoing. You can almost say, like, everything that you think about yourself is related to time and to your body, because it seems to be that you are that body running over the planet to have all kinds of experiences. So when you start to meditate more and you come deeper into your stillness, and suddenly you experience your, say, fulfillment while you're actually doing nothing really, something starts to change. And one of the things that you see change is that you see that the things that you were thinking were making you happy are actually not the things that make you happy. Like, happiness is something that just comes up in you while you meditate. It's out of nowhere. So suddenly it's just there. You feel so good. You feel so connected, or you feel so quiet and still, and so yeah, peaceful. So you start to see that your thoughts and your ideas that you hold about yourself are actually not helping you to come to say a real fulfillment or an experience of grace, if you want. It is something totally different. So we come back to the path now, with the idea of an undoing that is taking place. And then you see, like, in the relationship that you have with the people that you know on this planet, in your social relationships, in your family, and you go on and on and on. You see that there's something going on that's really essential to you. Also, you recognize that your own giving to that influences the relationships. So when you start to love, you start to fall in love, you become completely obsessed with one person, or you do this or that. It's like you find ways to say experience this connectedness. And so becoming, I wrote this too in this little part. So you come to the place too that you actually want to know more, because when you start reading the books, when you do your meditation and all of that, it brings you to a certain point, a certain point where you can hang out for quite a while, that you think like, yeah, I'm still doing my practice and it's okay. It's not completely fulfilling. It is okay. I feel a bit lonely now and then. And yeah, it's a very individual experience that I have. And I would love to share it with others. So we all come to a place like that too. And you can hang out there for 10 years or 5 years or 1 year, or you can, and it might be very important for you to do so. So I'm not taking anything away from you in that, but at the same time, there comes a point where you actually want more than that. You want to discover more about your true nature, and also about your relationship with your brother, with your sister, with your brother. When I say brother or sister, it means to me the same thing. It's like your brother. I just used the word brother. And so in that, you see that you want to discover what is possible to come to an like-mindedness, to come to a communication with your brother that is actually not taking anything away from you and from your brother, and also affirming basically your relationship with God. So we try to do that for centuries in churches, and we were successful sometimes, sometimes we were not successful. It became war, or we had disagreements, we had this and that. But now we have a possibility to apply something that will help us, like the plan that's made for you is also part of the atonement, part of the connection in wholeness. And the important thing to realize is that you yourself are completely included in that. And that has more dimensions than you think. It is like, it is not just something that you do or give to your brother. No, it is something that you give to your brother while you realize, or yeah, while you actually see your connectedness to your source. See, and that makes this really amazing. And that's really what the miracle is. Like, you start to realize with your brother your connectedness with your source. And that makes you feel like, oh, that's so great to remember that. It's literally like a sudden moment, really like a shift in invisibility. It's like, oh, wow, it is so great to recognize this with my brother in the recognition of our same source, and that is, you cannot do this consciously, like you have no conscious control over it. But by being, say, miracle mind, it's by being open to receive that for together, it can actually happen, and it can come to you. So that is really what the miracle is. See, and these miracles are really like stepping stones to something else, and that something else is what I'm going to talk to you about in a moment. But then the the thing is, these stepping stones are really important. So you'll have to practice literally giving miracles to your brother. If you come into the realization of this, if you come to hearing what it says, and also if you experience miracles yourself, you come to the point where you want to give this away and apply the miracle. It's the same as what we read in the beginning in the introduction, like, show me which miracle to perform you want to perform through me today. That is the prayer that you start your day with. And so that is something that you can start tomorrow morning when you wake up. You start to do that, or you can even do it now. It's like, show me what miracles need to be performed through you, through me, by you today. And to see then that you're actually starting a relationship with the one who is who fulfilled the complete atonement himself, and feel that you are guided, but also in relationship with the one. And see, the one is not, it's not that you are excluded from that. So you're part of that one too. That's why it works so well. And that closeness that you have to the one is amazing. You will discover that for yourself. So then the um, it is really like the miracles that you start to perform, the miracles that your miracle mindedness, your miracle awareness, so to speak, helps you to come into, say, more and more applying the miracle, applying that new communication that you found and that you see actually at work without your doing so much. It's like you see it at work, and it's always, say, a win-win situation for everyone involved. So that is so amazing. So it's not costing you anything. There's no sacrifice connected to it. And that's what makes the miracle very helpful as a tool and as a means to the next step. See, in this next step is a bit where we want to come into today, and that is we come to the relationship between miracles and revelation. So the revelation in itself is much more based on your individual relationship, literally on a soul level with your creator. It's literally like that is a moment of you recognizing your wholeness. Suddenly fear and doubt are gone, and you start to deeply realize, yeah, literally it's realizing in you that there's this beautiful communication that always have been. So the miracles, like I said before, are preparing you to come into a revelation readiness. And that is very personal, it's very individual. So it is you in relationship with your creator. In fact, your natural relationship with your creator. And yeah, you cannot say much about it except that it's a very personal and intense, extremely intense personal experience in which you just forget about all your doubts and fears. Suddenly there's just the wholeness, the direct expression of communication, the connectedness to every aspect of creation in a moment. And it can take a moment, it can take an instant, or it can take some time that it appears to be a long time. And it is not related to time whatsoever. So, and it's also not related to this world either. So that's why it is so hard to talk about it or to say like, well, it feels just like this or that. No, it has no comparison because it's completely based on your experience of it. So now you're ready to experience a revelation. Well, if you start to experience miracles, it can happen anytime to you. It's really like that. So it's more you recognize your oneness with your brother. You recognize you see in him the wholeness. At least in some moments, you see that. You know, it's like you want to give that to him, and in that you receive it for yourself too, if it is given you to perform that miracle. So that is the beauty of being aware of how this actually is put in place, so to speak. So the miracle is really based on relationships. It's based on your interaction with your brother, loving your brother as yourself, allowing that shift to occur for you as a gift to your brother. It happens to you then at the same time too. So in the revelation is much more an intense personal moment of communication. So I think it's very helpful to have this clear in mind, at least also to see the necessity of practicing miracle mindedness, practicing performing miracles, coming into miracle work, if you want, or miracle healing, because every time that a miracle occurs is also a shift in invisibility, as connecting yourself, disconnecting yourself from your body awareness. So that's why it also heals the body, so to speak. It heals the body. It heals your ideas about the body. And that is also very helpful. So they're completely made, so to speak, for healing, for remembering your relationship with your creator as it naturally is and always has been. You as a soul connected to your creator. So that is what I wanted to share from the first start. Like, I want to have this overview. I want to give that to you, and that's why I wrote it down too. But so that this is a gift in that sense. So by going through the second and third section of the chapter 1 of the Urtext, you see the relationship of miracles and revelation. See, and there are a couple of miracle principles that I want to share with you later. And there are a couple of, say, descriptions of what the revelation is that I like to use now as like exemplifying it, or giving more, more descriptions about it. So whether it is actually not covering the idea of revelation, it is just a description of it. So that's okay, that's okay. That's why we start, and that's fine too. So if you're familiar with revelation, then you know immediately what this is about. And that's the interesting thing with reading this too. See, then something happens too. I have to admit that for myself. Like, I can hardly read through a section like this without coming into such an incredible gratitude of what I read. Like, I'm so happy to read what this says that I don't even know if I can, if I can do this. Or it's like, I get so happy and grateful that this is something that I can hear and extend to whoever wants to hear it. But for me to receive that is amazing. So if I'm quiet, if I don't share anything with you, then you know where I'm at. It's like, oh my God, I cannot believe this. So I've been reading this chapter also as a recording with Angela, and then sometimes I have to stop just because it is like too much to continue. It's like, oh my God, I'm just getting so excited about this. I cannot believe what is given me in this instant. So, and that is, allow yourself to go that deep into this. Join me in your excitement about what you're actually hearing. Give it, just give that, just express that, because it is your chance of a deep experience. It is your chance to become so touched by this that it's actually moving you in a very, very deep way. See, and it's all based on coming home. It's all based on something that you naturally know. Like, your soul is literally crying for you, crying out for you to help. You're like, yes, hear this. Be here. Sit on the edge of your seat and listen to what it says. So it's great to come into the grace that is connected to this, and the sense of fulfillment that is actually given in what is described here. So it's not just a description, it really is not. And so for the rest, I will just start sharing some of these revelation descriptions and see what they do with you. Remember the point about miracles as a means of organizing different levels of consciousness. Miracles come from the below or subconscious level. See, that's the difference. A revelation comes from the above conscious level. And there's some interesting things that are coming, so I will share that too in a moment. Revelations come from the above conscious level. And see, the interesting thing is that miracles come from the below or subconscious level. So they are coming from, like, your subconscious is literally filled with miracles. They come up for healing. They come up to say establish the healing in you, but they are a subconscious, on a subconscious level. Coming into your awareness is what the miracle is. The conscious level is in between and reacts to either sub or superconscious impulses in various ratios. So the superconscious is then coming from outside of your awareness, inside, like having a spiritual guidance, having a still small voice speaking to you is the superconscious level. Then your conscious level is responding to what comes from above and what comes from your subconscious level. It has effects like that. You know this from psychology too. It's like the Freudian say, yeah, there's an expression for that. Freudian expressions, you know, like you say things that you actually don't mean, and they're related to something that's subconsciously a problem for you or something like that, you know. So that is here in the word text. There's a little description of what Freud said too. So that's interesting to read too. So you can do that as soon as you read again in your word text. Revelations induce temporary but complete suspension of doubt and fear. So it's a moment of intense release in that sense. It's like, shoof, here's your fear and doubt, it's gone. And you are just like having it. You're just receiving a direct communication. It's literally you're being knocked off your horse. You first you were afraid to fall off the horse, and suddenly you find yourself on the floor, not being afraid at all, but having an incredible experience of light and joy. So something like that. The revelation unites souls directly with God. Right underneath that is the miracle unites souls directly with each other. And the revelation unites souls directly with God. See, this is just very basic, but very little described. Like you can hardly find it in any book except this word text, that it's so clear about what the revelation is and where it comes from. So I love that about this. So I wouldn't know how else to do this, really. Revelation induces a state in which fear has already been abolished. See, and the miracle was to abolish fear. But revelation is then a sense in which fear already is abolished. It's just flushed through and you're just in the middle of your experience. It has nothing to do with fear and doubt anymore. It's like you're literally penetrated with certainty. Miracles are thus a means and revelations are an end. In this sense, they work together. Revelation is an intensely personal and is actually not translatable into conscious content at all. That's why any attempt to describe it in words is usually incomprehensible, even to the writer himself at another time. This is why the book of Revelations is essentially incomprehensible. Revelation induces only experience. Miracles, on the other hand, induce interpersonal action. In this sense, these are more useful because of their impersonal nature. In this phase of learning, see, that's essential too. In this phase of learning, working miracles is more valuable because freedom from fear cannot be thrust upon you. The experience cannot last. So that's good to know. See, we don't have to be busy with revelation. They come anyway. They come. They will come. But the miracle is then these are your stepping stones to the revelation, but not with the goal of just reaching revelation. No, it's like you have to apply the miracle in the situations that are coming up that you don't know how to deal with, then there's always the miracle possible. You're literally being brought into situations that are impossible. So the only way out of them is through the miracle. Otherwise, you will be stuck in it. You try to solve them, and you think that you have great solutions for your problems. But see, the first thing that you meet a lot of the times is the confusion of levels, that you really think that you have to solve the problem on the level on which they occur, with a solution that is from there too. And that is just not true. So the miracle can be then the real speed up by you letting go of the idea that you have to solve it and see that there's a whole different story working, and that the problem disappears, just dissolves by itself without a solution. But it was all just for you to remember that you are not separate from your source. So that is the common denominator. Like, that is always coming back to it. It's like confirming your connection with your creator, your oneness with your brother, your oneness with your creator. It's like that is the basic happening that is taking place. Oh yeah, this is nice too. Yeah, see, there are lots of miracle principles mixed through this. Miracles praise God through men. They praise God by honoring his creations, affirming their perfection. They heal because they deny body identification and affirm soul identification. By perceiving the spirit, they adjust the levels and see them in proper alignment. This places the spirit at the center where souls can communicate directly. See, and that is what you feel when you experience a miracle. Suddenly there's this communication. Poof, it's just there. It's just there. It's like, wow, I didn't know how to bridge that gap, so to speak, and suddenly it is just arranged. It is literally, spirit is the bridge between that. So in spirit, literally, souls unite directly. So that's so good to hear that. Miracles should inspire gratitude, not awe. Man should thank God for what he really is. The children of God are very holy. The miracle honors their holiness. God's creations cannot lose their holiness. See, that's a nice one too. God's creations cannot lose their holiness, although it can be hidden. The miracle uncovers it and brings it into the light where it belongs. Christ inspires all miracles, which are really intercessions. They intercede for man's holiness and make him holy. They place man beyond the physical laws and raise him into a sphere of celestial order. In this order, man is perfect. The soul never loses its communication with God. See, and this is a very nice one too. Miracles honor man because he is lovable. They dispel illusions about himself and perceive the light in him. They thus atone for his errors by freeing him from his own nightmares. They release him from a prison in which he has imprisoned himself. By freeing the mind from illusions, they restore his sanity and place him at the feet of Jesus. So you see this all also, and that's one thing I want to bring in too, and then I'll stop sharing this. Say one thing that makes this so integral as a whole, say, book, or as a whole blueprint for you to complete this in this journey, is then the textbook is one part, but the next part is the workbook, where you actually work this for yourself. You come into the exercises where you start to take a good look at what am I thinking, like where do I place value on? What is really valuable? What are my thoughts anyway? And what am I actually seeing? Where's my perception based on? And how about my holiness? What am I supposed to think about that? Like, what is that? And how can I experience my holiness? How can I see my brother is holy? So the workbook is really made for that, to combine with actually the chapters that we're reading right now, because they give more and more depth to your experience of where this is all about. It literally brings you into into the depth of the fabric of your thinking, and see how you can even let go of ideas, and how you can enter into an experience of your holiness, or to start to use, at least to start to repeat that for yourself during the day. That's a fact. Like, your holiness is guaranteed by God. That is a guarantee. That is just there. So this is just like a whole story of integration, letting all this come together in you, having the possibility of extending this to your brother, and seeing him for what he is. Like, your brother is the miracle. Your brother is your reflection of holiness, and on and on and on. So it's an integrated package that's being delivered here, and that you chose for you to use to come into, say, the remembrance of your holiness and your oneness and your connectedness with your brother. So that is so great and beautiful. That is so great. So I'm reading a couple more, and then we start reading together. Miracles restores the soul to its fullness. By atoning for lack, it establishes perfect protection. The strength of the soul leaves no room for intrusions. The forgiven are filled with the soul, and their soul forgives in return. It is the duty of the released to release their brothers. The forgiven are the means of atonement. Those released by Christ must join in releasing their brothers, for this is the plan of atonement. Miracles are the way in which minds that serve the Spirit unite with Christ for the salvation or release of all God's creations. So this is where I will end, and we can in a moment we will start reading together in this Urtext complete 7-volume combined edition, the Urtext manuscripts. And this is chapter 1 only. Like, look at what is in chapter 1. It's the complete story. It's amazing. And so we will start reading together, and let's take it from there.